Parliament in the United Kingdom where Prime Minister Theresa May is speaking. Let's listen in.
No money would be paid until services were delivered, and therefore the money has been paid to that contractor. But I say to the right honourable gentleman, he has stood here time and time again and said actually that we shouldn't be doing anything to prepare for no deal. It is entirely right and proper that this government is taking the action necessary to ensure that it's not our policy to have a no deal, it is our policy to get a deal. But should we be in that no deal situation, we need to ensure we have the capacity we need, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Could I bring the Prime Minister back to the question of seaborne ferries? Eurotunnel has called this ferry contract procurement secretive and flawed exercise. And taxpayers now face a legal bill of nearly £1 million contesting that. The money goes up and up. The Secretary of State's decision to award the contract to Seabourn has increased the budget deficit of Thanet Council, the owners of Ramsgate Port, by nearly £2 million. When questioned on this by the member for South Thanet, the Transport Secretary refused to give a guarantee. Can the Prime Minister today give a cast-iron commitment to the people of Thanet and confirm they won't be picking up the bill for this failure of this contract?
Can I say to the right honourable gentleman that the Department of Transport and other parts of government are in discussion with Thanet Council about the issue of this contract and the impact of this contract. But can I also just again remind the right honourable gentleman of why it is that the Department of Transport has taken these actions in relation to ferry capacity. It is in order to be able to ensure that in a no-deal situation we are able to guarantee that medicines will be brought into this country. Primarily, we're prioritising medicines being brought into this country. Again, that was a question I seem to remember being asked on more than one occasion yesterday by members of the SNP who had an interest in that. The right honourable gentleman doesn't seem to be interested in ensuring that we can, in a no-deal situation, provide the medicines that people in this country need. That's what we're doing. That's a sensible approach of a government that is taking this matter seriously.
Maybe the Prime Minister should follow the advice of the House and take no deal off the table and negotiate seriously with the European Union. And it cannot be right, Mr. Speaker, it cannot be right that a hard-pressed local council and local taxpayers are footing the bill for the incompetence of the Secretary of State for Transport and this government. The spectacular failure of this contract is a symptom, Mr. Speaker, of the utter shambles of this government and its no-deal preparations. The Transport Secretary ignored warnings about drones and airport security, gave a £1.4 billion contract to Carillion despite warnings over their finances. He oversaw the disastrous new rail timetables last year, rail punctuality at a 13-year low and fares at a record high. That is some achievement. And now the Transport Secretary is in charge of a major and vital aspect of Brexit planning. How on earth, Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister say that she has confidence in the Transport Secretary?
Let me tell the right honourable gentleman what the Transport Secretary is delivering. The biggest rail investment programme since the Victorian era. Spending nearly £48 billion on improving our railways to deliver better journeys. 20% higher on average every year than under a Labour government. That's what the Transport Secretary is delivering. Commitment to transport in this country and commitment to transport across the whole of this country. But I notice that the right honourable gentleman wanted to focus his questions in that way, rather than asking more general questions in relation to Brexit, because of course there are still a number of issues. There's still a number of issues on Brexit where we don't know his answers to the big questions. We don't know if he'd... It's no good Labour members burying their heads in their hands. We don't know whether their leader backs the second referendum. We don't know whether their leader backs the deal. We don't even know whether he backs Brexit. He prefers ambiguity and playing politics to acting in the national interest.